Have you ever stood in front of the mirror wondering why something just feels off? Maybe you got a haircut recently or styled your hair the same way you've done for years, and suddenly it doesn't feel quite right. It's not that you don't look lovely, you do, but there's something about the reflection that seems older than you feel inside. If that sounds familiar, you're absolutely not alone. You see, the way we style our hair has a powerful impact on how we're perceived and how we feel about ourselves. And while age brings so many beautiful gifts, wisdom, grace, and stories worth telling, it also brings changes in our features that certain hairstyles can accidentally emphasize. But here's the great news. With just a few thoughtful tweaks, your hairstyle can take years off your face, highlighting your best features instead of dragging them down. Today, we're going to have a fun little heart-to-heart about hairstyles. Not from a place of vanity, but from a place of feeling good, of stepping into the day with confidence, with joy, and with a fresh glow that mirrors how vibrant you truly are. Because you deserve that every single day. Now, I'm not here to dictate what you should or shouldn't do. This isn't that kind of conversation. You've earned the right to wear your hair any way you like, but what I will share with you are a few common hairstyle choices that, without realizing it, may be adding years to your face. And more importantly, I'll talk about simple shifts that can bring softness, brightness, and even a little sparkle back to your everyday look. Let's start with one of the most common culprits, a style so familiar, so comfortable, that many of us don't even question it anymore. I'm talking about long, heavy, straight hair that hangs down past the shoulders without much shape or movement. Now, before you run your fingers through your locks and worry, let me explain. Long hair can be stunning at any age, but when it becomes too heavy or lacks layers, especially when it's all one length, it has a tendency to pull the face down visually. Think of it like a curtain, one that might be unintentionally dragging all the attention downward. And as we get older, our faces naturally lose a bit of volume. Cheeks may flatten, jawlines may soften, and the skin becomes more delicate. So when you pair that with a hairstyle that emphasizes vertical length, it can accentuate sagging and make you appear more tired even when you feel full of life. The solution isn't to chop it all off unless you want to. It's about finding softness. Adding gentle layers around the face or even incorporating a slight wave or curl can make all the difference. It introduces movement, draws the eye upward, and adds that touch of vitality that says, yes, I am here, and I am glowing. I had a friend, her name's Margaret, who wore her hair long and straight for decades. It was her signature, and she loved it. But one day, she told me she was tired of feeling invisible. She said people weren't looking at her the same way anymore. So, on a whim, she visited a stylist who gently trimmed her hair, added some soft layers around her cheekbones, and taught her how to add a bit of bend with a curling brush. Nothing drastic. But I kid you not, when she walked out of that salon, she looked 10 years younger. More importantly, she felt it. Her eyes lit up. Her smile came alive. She said it was like she'd stepped out of someone else's shadow and back into her own light. That's the kind of magic we're talking about. Not drastic makeovers or anything that doesn't feel true to you, but subtle shifts that reflect who you are on the inside. Someone who still has a lot of life to live, stories to tell, laughter to share. Now let's move to another hairstyle that might surprise you. The classic, tightly pulled back bun or ponytail. I know, it's practical, especially on those busy mornings when you just want your hair out of your face. It's clean, tidy, and it feels like it keeps everything in place. But here's the thing. When we pull our hair back tightly, it can expose every little detail of our face. And I don't mean that in a flattering way. Instead of smoothing, it can actually highlight fine lines, draw attention to thinning hairlines, and create a stark, almost severe look. It's a bit like putting a spotlight on areas we might not want highlighted. and it can add a harshness that simply doesn't match the warmth and kindness in your eyes. But again, we're not saying you can't wear your hair up. Not at all. Updos can be elegant, breezy, and stylish. The key is in how you do it. Instead of a tight pull, try a looser chignon or a soft low bun with a few face-framing strands left out. These little details can soften your entire look, adding romance and gentleness instead of tension. One of our viewers, Anita, wrote in once about how she used to wear her hair in a tight ponytail every day because it made her feel polished. But she noticed that even when she wore makeup or nice clothes, something still felt off. After watching a video where we talked about this exact topic, she tried wearing her hair in a loose, half-up style with gentle waves, and she said the compliments started pouring in, not just from friends and family, but from strangers. People started telling her she looked rested and radiant. Isn't it amazing how small changes can create such a ripple effect? Hair isn't just hair. It's part of how we express ourselves. And when we choose styles that reflect softness, ease, and confidence, the people around us feel that energy too. And then there's one more hairstyle I want to talk about today, one that many women fall into without even realizing it. It's the helmet hair. You know the one I mean? Perfectly sprayed, overly styled, stiff as a board. It doesn't move when you walk. It doesn't shift when the breeze blows. It just sits there like it's frozen in time. Now I understand the appeal. For many years, we were taught that good hair meant controlled hair, neat, tidy, and held firmly in place. But as we age, rigidity in our hairstyle can translate to rigidity in our appearance. It can make us seem older, more severe, even stuck in a past version of ourselves. Our faces change, our skin changes, and our hairstyle should evolve with us, not fight against us. When hair is too stiff, it can cast shadows, exaggerate lines, and make the face look more angular than it actually is. What's the alternative? Embrace movement, light, touchable styles, a little bounce, a bit of volume. It's okay if a strand falls out of place. It's part of what makes you look real, alive, and engaging. Consider switching to a lightweight styling product instead of stronghold sprays. Ask your stylist for a cut that allows your natural texture to shine through. Even a soft fringe or a side-swept bang can add a youthful touch and frame the face in a way that feels flattering without looking forced. You'd be amazed at how a style that moves with you can breathe new life into your overall look. Think about when you see someone with a lovely flowing haircut that seems effortless, and how it makes them appear open, relaxed, even more approachable. That could be you too. I once met a woman named Darlene at a community center. She was in her early 70s, and she had the most incredible hair, shoulder length, with gentle waves and a playful bounce every time she laughed. I asked her what her secret was, and she smiled and said, "Honey, I finally stopped trying to control it." That stuck with me. Because there's such wisdom in letting go of what we think we're supposed to look like, and instead leaning into what makes us feel good, light, and free. So, if you've ever looked in the mirror and felt like something just doesn't sit quite right, maybe it's not your clothes, your makeup, or your glasses. Maybe it's your hairstyle quietly working against you. And the beautiful part is, that's something you can change. Easily, joyfully, and on your own terms. You deserve to look in the mirror and see someone who reflects all the energy, beauty, and confidence you've built over a lifetime. Not someone stuck in a hairstyle from 20 years ago. Not someone hiding behind what's comfortable. Someone who says, "This is me, and I'm still evolving." And just by recognizing the power of your hair, the way it can lift, soften, and brighten your whole face, you're already halfway there. Now that we've talked about a few of the styles that might be adding years you never signed up for, let's take a closer look at how certain changes, small ones, can bring out the vibrant, youthful spirit that's still shining inside of you. You know, there's something truly empowering about realizing you have the freedom to reinvent. yourself at any stage in life, and that includes your hairstyle. It might seem like a small thing, just a haircut, just a different way to part your hair, but the impact it can have on how you feel when you look in the mirror, it's huge. Because how you wear your hair speaks volumes before you even say a word. Now, let's talk about another style that might not be doing your beautiful face any favors. Super long, heavy hair with no layers. Oh yes, that one. Maybe it's something you've worn for years, or maybe it feels like a comfort blanket. Something familiar? And I completely understand that. Change can be intimidating, especially when it involves something so personal. But hear me out. Hair that's all one length, especially when it's very long and hangs straight down, can pull the face downward. It can actually make your features look more tired, or your face look longer and heavier than it really is. And the older we get, the more we want to lift our spirits, our energy, and yes, sometimes our look too. Heavy, long hair doesn't always help with that. In fact, it can create a visual weight that tugs everything down instead of lifting it up. Let me tell you about my neighbor Margaret. She's 67, sharp as a tack, and she used to wear her hair long and straight, all the way down her back. It was her signature, she said. But she always felt like people didn't quite see her the way she saw herself, energetic, curious, lively. One day, her daughter booked her an appointment with a stylist who specialized in mature hair. Margaret was nervous, but open to trying something new. The stylist suggested adding some soft face-framing layers and cutting a few inches off. Not a dramatic change, just enough to open up her face. When Margaret came home, it was like the lights had come on in her whole expression. Her eyes popped. Her cheekbones were more noticeable. She looked years younger. Not because she was trying to look younger, but because her hair finally matched her spirit. She told me, "I didn't realize how much that long hair was dragging me down, literally and emotionally." Now she walks with her chin up, and when she talks to people, they're not just looking at her hair, they're looking at her. That's the power of layers. Even subtle ones can do wonders. Layers give movement to the hair, which brings a softness and vibrancy to your face. They can help your hair bounce instead of hang, and they lift the eyes up instead of drawing them down. Especially if your hair has some natural wave or body, layers can enhance what's already there without making you feel like you've done anything too drastic. It's like refreshing a room with a few well-placed cushions. It still feels like home, but suddenly everything looks brighter. Now, this doesn't mean you have to chop it all off or give up long hair entirely if that's your thing, but it's worth considering whether that length is still working for you, or if it's hiding the spark that's still alive in your eyes. Sometimes a small change makes the biggest difference. A few well-placed layers around your face, maybe. Some soft shaping at the bottom. It can frame your features beautifully and even make your hair feel lighter and easier to manage. And don't worry about looking too trendy or stepping out of your comfort zone. The goal isn't to follow fashion, it's to find a look that celebrates who you are today. If you've spent decades caring for others, working hard, showing up for everyone else, then now is the perfect time to show up for yourself. You deserve to look in the mirror and feel proud of the person looking back at you. Not just proud of what you've been through, but proud of how you're still growing, still evolving, still willing to try something new. It's not about trying to look 20 again. It's about choosing a hairstyle that matches your energy, not your birth certificate. Something that brings out your eyes, makes your smile pop, and reminds you that you are absolutely allowed to glow at this stage in your life. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to look at that hairbrush and ask, is this style still serving me? Or is it just familiar? If the answer is the latter, that's okay. It just means you've got a new chapter waiting, one where you get to choose how you show up in the world from the inside out. Now, I know for some of us, letting go of a long-time style can feel a little like saying goodbye to an old friend. But here's the beautiful part. You're not letting go of who you were. You're making room for who you're becoming. You're stepping into a version of yourself that's just as wise, just as strong, and a whole lot more vibrant. And while we're talking about vibrancy, there is another sneaky little hairstyle that might be holding you back. It's one that seems innocent, maybe even practical. But over time, it can add years to your appearance without you even noticing. Let's explore it now, because chances are you've seen it around, maybe even in your own mirror, that hairstyle I'm talking about. It's the tight, overly sculpted bun, or updo. Now, I know this one might come as a surprise. A sleek bun can feel neat, classic, even elegant, especially when we want to keep hair out of our face or we're heading to an event. But the thing is, when it's too tight, too pulled back, and lacks softness, it can actually have the opposite effect of what we're going for. Instead of looking polished, it can highlight every line and wrinkle. It puts your facial features front and center, but not in the flattering way we want. It stretches everything upward and back, yes, but it also strips away the warmth and natural movement that softer styles offer. And especially as we age, that softness becomes our best friend. Think of it like lighting. Harsh overhead lights show everything, the good, the bad, and the tired. But soft, diffused lighting? That's where the magic happens. Hair is no different. When you pull it back into a super tight bun, you're creating that kind of harsh light effect on your face. It accentuates the things you might prefer to downplay, like fine lines, thinning hair near the temples, or a jawline that's not as defined as it once was. Now, I'm not saying you have to stop pulling your hair back entirely, not at all, but there are ways to do it that are much gentler and more flattering. Think of a loose, low chignon with a few tendrils falling gently around the face, or a soft ponytail that doesn't tug too hard at the scalp. Maybe a relaxed half-up, half-down style that gives you that open feeling without sacrificing elegance. These kinds of looks still give you structure, but they also give your features a chance to shine. One of my dear friends, Helen, she's 71 and radiates kindness like the sun, used to wear her hair in a very tight bun every day. She said it made her feel put together and professional, even though she was retired. But one afternoon, she visited her granddaughter, who had just finished a styling course. They played around with looser styles, added a bit of wave to her hair, and pulled it back gently with some softness around the temples. When Helen saw herself in the mirror, she got quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I look happy." That's the thing. It's not about being trendy. It's not about chasing youth. It's about reflecting joy. Hair that's too stiff, too slicked back, or too severe doesn't leave space for that joy to breathe. But when you loosen it up, let your hair move, let it frame your smile, it tells a completely different story. A story of someone who's lived fully and still has so much life to live. And if your hair is thinning, and that's why you've been pulling it back so tightly, let's talk about that too. Thinning hair is incredibly common, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about, but hiding it with tight styles can actually make it worse, both visually and physically. Pulling too hard on fragile strands can lead to breakage and something called traction alopecia, where the hairline starts to recede from constant stress. So letting your hair relax isn't just good for your face, it's good for your hair's health too. There are so many beautiful ways to embrace your hair's natural texture, even if it's changing. Whether it's adding some soft curls with a heatless method, embracing your waves, or using volumizing products that bring a little lift to the roots, you have more options than ever. You don't need a complicated routine or a shelf full of products. You just need a little willingness to experiment, and a reminder that your beauty has nothing to do with perfection and everything to do with presence. I know we're not always taught that, especially not in a world that pushes youth and flawlessness like it's the only currency, but the truth is, a face that's lived, that's loved, that's laughed until tears rolled down, that is a face worth highlighting, not hiding, and the right hairstyle can help you do just that. Not by covering up or changing who you are, but by celebrating it. So if you've been wearing your hair in a certain way for years, maybe it's long and heavy, maybe it's super short and sharp, or maybe it's always tied back tightly, take a moment and ask yourself, is this really how I want to show up today, or am I clinging to an idea of who I used to be instead of embracing who I am now? There's something incredibly freeing about realizing you don't have to fit into anyone's idea of appropriate or youthful anymore. You get to define what beauty means to you, and if that means a fresh cut, a few gentle layers, or finally saying goodbye to the tight bun that's been giving you a headache, then you go for it. No matter your age, you deserve to feel good in your own skin, in your own hair, in your own reflection. You've earned that. Not just because of the years you've lived, but because of the wisdom you carry, the softness in your eyes, the confidence that comes from knowing what matters, and a hairstyle that lifts your face, highlights your smile, and brings out your natural glow. That's not about vanity, that's about honoring yourself. So here's to softness, to trying something new, to trusting that you're allowed to evolve. And that change can be a beautiful thing. Your hair doesn't have to be what it's always been. It can be whatever helps you feel like the best version of yourself today. And if that means letting go of styles that don't serve you anymore, then so be it. You've let go of heavier things before. You can do this too. If you've ever looked in the mirror and felt like something was off, but couldn't quite put your finger on it, maybe now you know where to start. It's not about dramatic changes or chasing trends. It's about subtle shifts that bring harmony to your face, lift your features, and allow your natural beauty to shine through. Because trust me, it's there. It's always been there. Sometimes it just needs the right frame. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you tried changing your hairstyle recently? Did it make you feel more like yourself, or maybe like a completely new version of you? Share your experience in the comments. I read every one of them. And your story might just inspire someone else who's sitting at home wondering if it's too late for a fresh start. And if this video helped you in any way, give it a like. It really does make a difference. Subscribe for more conversations like this where we celebrate life after 50 with style, confidence, and heart. You are not invisible. You are radiant, and you deserve to feel that way every single day. Here's to embracing every strand, every smile line, every new beginning. Here's to living your best life, one haircut at a time.